Hello, and thank you for joining Medical Insurance for Pets, What Vets Do and Don't Need to Know with Dr. Kate Ann Hunter. For those of you who don't recognize my voice, I'm Nicole Cast, the CE Program Manager for the MVMA, and I'm pleased to be your moderator. If you do have any questions during the session, please type them in the Q&A area, and Dr. Hunter will answer them at the end of the session. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Kate Ann Hunter, who is a local veterinarian with over 30 years in companion animal practice and 20 years as a practice owner. She is now a licensed insurance agent representing Trupanion. Go ahead, Dr. Hunter.
Thank you, Nicole. And thanks to everybody for being here today. I've had an interesting journey going from practice to working in medical insurance for pets, and it's been very eye-opening for me despite my many years of practice. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to provide everyone with some useful information. So as Nicole said, I'm a veterinarian. I practiced for 30 years, graduated from the University of Minnesota, sold my practice, and decided to do something a little bit different. I am a licensed insurance provider, which I can guarantee you was the most boring thing I ever studied, because we don't have a particular category for medical insurance for pets. I studied property and liability. So I know a lot of things I don't really need to know, but that's the way the regulatory system is working right now for us. So let's get down to the basics here of what is insurance. Insurance is defined as a contract or policy in which an individual receives financial reimbursement against a loss from an insurance company. And what the company does is pool the client's risks to make payments more affordable for the insured. We don't know who's going to be lucky and who's not going to be lucky, but if we all pool a little bit into the bucket, we can make sure that there's enough in that bucket for our unlucky ones in the group to be able to take care of financial liabilities. What this does is protect owners from the financial loss due to a known risk, and the risk being the possibility of a loss. This is put in strictly financial terms and is not related to emotional loss at all. At this point, pets are still considered property in the state of Minnesota. And I think not only does this protect veterinarians, but this protects pet owners too and gives them the ultimate in the ability to make decisions for their pets. Is also, it doesn't exempt them from any criminal or abuse concerns, but it gives them the ability to make choices they feel are best for their pets. So premiums are the money, the funds that we all contribute, and you're probably most familiar with that in terms of your car insurance, your homeowners or renters insurance, the money that we all put into the bucket so it's there if someone should need it. Now, when it comes to animals, we have more experience with mortality insurance in the horse world, but it's quite a bit different than pets, in part because there's an intrinsic value to the animals that has to do, or that can be there even if the animal is sick, if there's been breeding rights or semen storage. So it's very different than equine mortality insurance. I was glad to hear this because of experiences I've had. What little I had in the large animal world sometimes meant that the insurance company had some say in what would happen to a horse. Unfortunately, the owner wasn't the only one able to make decisions about what was best for a horse when there was mortality insurance and therefore big dollars on the line. So now we have medical insurance for pets. And although it's not completely new, there are many things about it that are new that make it more valuable, more timely, and more possible. This is my little dog, Keegan. He's a smooth Brussels Griffon. So, of course, one of the things is the relationships that our clients have with their pets. You may know this famous pit bull Wallace, who was a rescue dog owned by this young man, and he was a very famous disc dog. So we do a lot of things with our dogs and our cats. They're having longer lifespans, and certainly that deepens the relationship. It's something we can expect from our pets. And the advances in veterinary medicine mean that we can do so many things for the animals that we couldn't do 20 or 30 years ago, things that our clients expect, things that our clients hope for, but unfortunately clients don't always understand that the costs associated with the technology, with the science, is still there, and we don't get discounts on our equipment because we're going to use it on dogs and cats. And so it's a clean, modern, attractive facility because they want their animals to be housed, if needed to be hospitalized, in a place that's similar to their home. And of course, the cost of our education. That's one of the biggest concerns and one of the reasons that we need to make sure that our clients understand that the cost of veterinary medicine is commensurate with the kinds of things that go into it, including the cost of education. And then, of course, the cost of treatments. I often talk about coming out of school 30 years ago. If I diagnosed a golden retriever with liposarcoma, I may have sent them home with $5 worth of prednisone and kept my fingers crossed. But these days, I may be referring them to the university, to AERC, or to Blue Pearl for a long and costly chemotherapy protocol. Clients know about these treatments, they're interested, but they don't always understand it's going to be expensive. And as veterinarians, do you want patients with medical insurance? I have certainly turned around and believe I sure do, because that's going to do a lot of things for me in practice. It's going to save time, the time spent going back and forth with treatment plans, crossing things off that clients don't understand the value of. It's going to save me time in those very uncomfortable discussions we have with clients when they're having a hard time figuring out how to pay for something they want. It's going to make for more compliant clients, rather than the clients having to go through the treatment plan and say, well, do we have to do this? Do we have to do that? They can look at that and say, Doc, if that's your best recommendation, that's what I want to do. That's a wonderful feeling, and I know how much you enjoy practicing when your A-plus clients come in. Happy clients, clients who feel like they can do their best for their pets, who don't have to be upset with you because of your cost, which obviously aren't your fault, but sometimes that's how it appears to the clients. There's nothing wrong with happy clients, and with having A-plus clients who can afford your best recommendations that are strongly bonded to your practice. And job satisfaction. I think for most of us, those uncomfortable discussions in helping clients understand the value of what we do and how they're going to pay for that is such a stressor, not just for the veterinarians, but for the whole staff. And so when we're able to practice our best medicine and minimally have those uncomfortable discussions, it makes our job a whole lot more fun and satisfying. And dare we say, improve your bottom line. We don't like to talk about money in our business, but you've got bills, you've got payroll, your staff has bills. We need to be able to pay those. And when clients can afford the treatment you're recommending, your bottom line is going to look better. There are quite a few rules and regulations to protect consumers around insurance. And right now, the regulations are still trying to get caught up on the concept of medical insurance for pets. We hit some bumps in the road when they don't quite understand what it is that medical insurance for pets does, but those rules and regulations protect consumers and also protect us when if we feel like we're in the middle. It means that as veterinarians, there's some limitations on what we can do. We cannot sell insurance. We can't compel clients to get insurance. We can suggest medical insurance in a general way and recommend that clients take a look at it. We can discuss our own experience with clients who've had insurance or our own pets. We can offer free trials, which Trupanion provides, and we can provide service that enables their claims, whether it's doing paper copies of forms, filling out forms, signing forms, faxing forms, or with some of the new technology, sometimes just clicking a couple of buttons on an app. So that's it. Every time clients ask you a question about medical insurance, I like to say it's very similar to when clients call me asking a question at the clinic, what should I do with my pet? Here's the situation. My first answer is always, let's get you in for an appointment. And when they have questions about medical insurance, my first answer is, you should probably call the insurance company about that. Don't get caught in the middle. And that allows you then to keep your focus on veterinary medicine, which is really what we're here for. There are a number of different things that clients are going to want to consider when they're looking for medical insurance for their pets. And I'm telling you about this more from an informational point of view. You're likely to be a pet owner, but also just so you have some understanding about it. Again, not that this is information that you have to share with clients. That's not your job. So one of the things that they need to look at is what age is covered. Is the pet going to be covered from birth? Are all conditions going to be covered from birth or from a particular age? Can they get coverage for an older pet? And that's something that clients need to consider. They need to look at whether their breed is covered and whether it's covered for all conditions. Many of the bigger companies have different exclusions for particular conditions and particular breeds. Unfortunately, it's those conditions we're most likely to be concerned about in that breed. So it's important that they read the fine print and make sure that they've got coverage for their concerns. One of the reasons I work for Trupanion is that they do not have breed exclusions. Where is their treatment covered? And it's important that they be able to have coverage wherever they may need to get treatment, whether it's at your general practice or if you need to refer them to an emergency clinic, a specialty clinic, if they choose some alternative treatments. And especially today, if they're snowbirds and they're out of here, then we want to make sure that they've got coverage when they're down in Florida or Arizona. Waiting periods can be a big problem. It is important that we have waiting periods to be sure that clients are playing fair, that we're getting coverage before they have a problem, but some policies have what I think are pretty restrictive waiting periods, sometimes waiting periods on particular conditions. So it's important that they take a look at that. One of the things I like about Trupanion is they will offer 30 days of coverage at no cost and with no waiting period. I think that's pretty valuable because when people have a new pet, that's really not a time when they're thinking they're going to have expensive veterinary bills, and it can really be a deal breaker for some pet owners when something happens early on in pet ownership. Also, some policies have certain requirements. They'll have requirements as far as um, vaccinations, visits to the vet. Some policies even determine which medications veterinarians can use that would be covered and what they can charge. One of the things that impressed me most about Trupanion is when the company started, they first went to veterinarians and said, how can we do this in a way that works best for you? So there are no restrictions in that way. So we want an insurance company that's not telling the veterinarian how to practice medicine. And are there any exclusions in terms of activities, breeds, and conditions? With my smooth Brussels Griffon, they're prone to syringomyelia, so it was important that I choose a company that would cover that, even knowing that that's in the breed. Some companies will not cover dogs that have any type of an athletic life, such as this little pit bull mix who was my best agility dog. Pre-existing conditions is going to be across the board. They're not going to be covered, and that keeps it a little bit simpler for clients and for us. So that reminds me how important it is to talk to clients about considering medical insurance for their pets when the pets are young and healthy. Unfortunately, for most of our clients, they're not going to think of it until something goes wrong. This is where I find that the free trial that Trupanion offers is a nice way to kind of nudge them towards considering it and doing their research. Since nobody covers pre-existing, if we can get them to consider it before something happens, then we're not going to have that client who says, oh my gosh, I should have done that. And of course, premiums. And what you'll see is a really wide range in monthly premiums for medical insurance. There are very expensive ones, there are very cheap ones, but there's a lot of fine print in there. So it's very important that clients look well beyond just the cost, see what flexibility there may be with premiums and deductibles, and choose what's right for them. So at Trupanion, we look at 3 different things to determine premiums. One is looking at the breed, because as we all know, some breeds just over their lifetime are more likely to have expensive veterinary care than others. We look at the location of where someone lives. It wouldn't be fair for our clients that live in Lester Prairie to pay the same kind of premiums that we do in the cities or that they do in New York City. And then Trupanion also looks at the age at which the pet enrolls, but uniquely only looks at the age at which they enroll and does not have automatic premium increases with birthdays or with claims. And again, we can choose a high deductible for a lower premium or the other way around, and that's something that clients discuss with the insurance company to decide what works best for them. Now, in the past, our model has always been reimbursement, and I think for a lot of veterinarians, they felt like this was the best way that they could feel like they're not stuck in the loop. However, now with the ability for some companies to provide direct pay, there really are some advantages. Number one, there's the great advantage of the client experience and of the client being able to say, yes, doc, go ahead with that treatment without them having to make sure they have the funds and the time to wait for reimbursement. Also, with the direct pay that Trupanion offers, there are no fees associated with that. And since for most clinics, most of your income is coming in on credit cards, those fees do add up at the end of every month. So it's kind of nice to have payments coming directly into the clinic without any fees associated. Customer service is really important. We have customer service 24/7, and that's so important because things can happen at any time of the day or night, and we need to be able to possibly ask questions and get more information. And it's important to know how the appeals process works. If there's a question about a claim, I found as a veterinarian, that it was really important to be able to call the insurance company and say, here's what I see, and also to know that with Trupanion, if there's a question about an appeal, it goes directly to a veterinary specialist for them to make kind of a third-party decision on that. So for me, the bottom line is letting you know that insurance is making life better for your clients, for your patients, and for you and your staff. But clients do need to do their own research. They need to make the choices that work best for them. I'm extremely proud of this handout Trupanion put together, which is questions to consider when choosing medical insurance. And this is unbranded. This is something we can provide to you to help clients kind of wade through the difficult decisions they may have to make about medical insurance. I have to say a little bit more about our company, which provides one simple plan that covers 90% of the actual invoice. So whatever is on there, whatever fees you charge, we're going to pay for 90% of that as long as it's a new condition. We can offer patients 30 days at no cost or obligation and no waiting period if they enroll within 24 hours of an exam with the veterinarian, so that we've got a waiting period, so that we've got a medical baseline. We have no payout limits, and this can be huge. Things can really add up. Our largest payout last year was over $80,000. We have no breed exclusions, and we can start coverage from birth. And if someone should choose to, they can start coverage as old as 14 years old for their dog or cat. And that will lock in the age factor for the premium. They can choose the deductible that works best for their budget, because that determines the premium. And we assess deductibles per condition. We find that this, for most animals, gets to be the best value, because if you've got a chronic condition, they pay that deductible once for that condition and aren't having to pay that every year when they're back for the same thing. We have 24/7 customer care, and with our patented app that's available to sync with most of your practice management softwares, we can provide direct payment as well as super easy claims filing for your A-plus clients. So we want to keep it simple as veterinarians. This is not our wheelhouse. So what I do is talk to my clients with new pets and recommend that they consider medical insurance. I can offer them 30 days of free coverage with Trupanion, direct clients to do their research using the questions to consider, and then set them free. So thank you so much for your time. I am happy to take your questions.
A reminder, if anybody has any questions, to please type them in the Q&A area. I'll yell at everybody a minute or two to type it in there. Dr. Hunter, what would you say is the average percent of people who do have coverage for their pets?
Right now in this country, we're at about 2%. It's very low. I think the biggest issue in this country has been that we just didn't have very good products. But we're seeing in Canada, they're way ahead of us. In Europe, even farther ahead, to the point where in the UK, there are some clinics that will not see patients that don't have medical insurance.
Still waiting. How do clients get to start the 30-day trial?
It's very simple. There are a couple of different ways. If they have a practice management software that's compatible, then we can get you that access to that app, and you just click a couple of buttons and it sends it direct to the client. As veterinarians, our job is to offer that. If they're interested, it'll send email and text to the clients. The client still has to actually sign up for it. We can't sign people up for insurance without their knowledge. And it's very simple, and I'm the rep for Minneapolis and West. My colleague Tom Halsall has St. Paul and East, and I can make sure that you've got contact information for me, and I can get you set up. If your practice management software is not compatible, we can use, we have a form you can give to clients. What we found, though, is with the paper form, clients would take it home and forget to activate it within that 24-hour time of their exam, and then they'd be frustrated because they meant to do it. So we find that doing that digitally, not only is it easier for the clinic, but clients are more likely to take advantage of it.
Another question that came in is, what is the musical freestyle your pets participated in?
Well, it's the most fun thing. We actually choose music that we feel expresses who our pet is and do our own choreography. And it's pretty simple. It's not dancing. It's not costumes, but it's just natural dog movement to music.
Are there any other questions out there? People, another minute or two. Sure, have a couple that have come in. What are some of the reasons so many human doctors hate dealing with insurance?
That's such a good question. I'm glad you asked that. A couple of different things, and things that we really want to avoid in veterinary medicine. One is coding, having to call things certain things, all the trying to, in human medicine, they're trying to standardize that to make it simpler for them, and it's very cumbersome for the MDs. And one of the biggest things is telling MDs what's covered and what will be paid at what cost. And that's something, again, that we really want to avoid. If it's simply we're going to pay for whatever the veterinarian prescribes and at whatever the veterinarian needs to charge, that keeps it simple. But I think that in human medicine, there's been way too much regulation telling MDs how to practice, and that makes it pretty tough for them to feel like they're doing their best. And certainly as a patient, you know how frustrating it can be.
And so piggybacking on that question, is there any concern for pet insurance to get to that point, or is there anything being done to try and prevent it from getting to that point?
Well, I think one of the things that will prevent it for us right now will be that medical insurance for pets is still considered under the umbrella of property and liability, that we own our pets, and therefore we're taking on financial risks for the cost of care for them. So it's a little bit different in that way. I don't see a whole lot of move towards it being more like human medicine, but there are some companies that will restrict what medications they'll cover for pets. So I think doing our homework is very worthwhile in making sure that clients read the fine print before they sign up.
Another question that came in that is actually for me, but I will answer it so that I don't forget to, is people were inquiring if there's access to play this back for other staff who weren't able to attend, because somebody's got to be watching the clinic. And so the answer to that question is yes. We do post the webinars on the MVMA YouTube channel. And so you can get to that by going to our website, mvma.org, click on education, then click on Lunch and Learn, and there's a link to it from there. So it will take me a day or two to get them up because it's a big file and there's lots of steps involved, but I usually get it up within a day or two.
Great. Thanks, Nicole.
Are there other questions that we have out there for Dr. Hunter? Just give people a couple more minutes here to type in. Fast typers. making sure I did answer everything that came or ask everything that came through. And it appears that I have. So if there are no other questions at this point, I want to thank Dr. Hunter for her time today and sharing with us her wealth of knowledge in regarding medical insurance for pets, even though it's the most boring subject she ever studied. That all happened. So I'm glad you stuck with it because that's not easy to do. So kudos to you for that. Reminder to everyone that I will be sending out an email with a link to the evaluation, and it will also include your continuing education certificate. But another reminder, if you haven't already, to please remember to register for the MVMA annual meeting. That's February 20th through the 22nd. Early registration is going to end next week, and so you want to be sure to get in at that reduced rate. I am not seeing any other questions. So again, thank you, Dr. Hunter, and thanks for everyone who joined us and taking time out of your busy schedules. Everybody
Thank
have a
you.
great day. Thank you.